Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you've been here before, I really appreciate that you keep coming back. Thank you so much. If this is your first time here, thank you. I really, thanks for coming by, and I hope you enjoy hanging out with me and talking about tarot stuff and esoteric things, and hopefully you will be a person who comes back too. So tonight's video, today is October the 30th. And we are in full tilt boogie of Halloween season. We are at, the crescendo. I'm not a musician, so I probably shouldn't be using terms I don't know, but this is it. This is go time, show time. So for normal people, and if you've watched my channel before and watched other videos, you've heard me make mention of, oh my God, Halloween season. And I love it. It's wonderful. It's also a lot. So it's kind of like for normal people, holidays, Christmas season, like once we get close to Thanksgiving, you know how it's just go, 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 and so many things to remember and places to be and traffic and people and outfits to buy perhaps, or food to purchase, to do a thing, to go to a place, and holiday parties and galas and gatherings. It's the same thing for us for Halloween season. So it's been an intense few weeks, some renovations and things going on in my house with regard to that have been a thing. And it's been just Halloween season as a tour guide, and tiny aside, the queen of asides, Swifties. Boy, did you guys the Swifties have made the most wonderful impression on the city of New Orleans, and many of us, and I do say us, who were doubting Thomas's about them coming and her having the concert at this particular time, for God's sakes, because of all the things I just mentioned. So a lot of us were really not very pleased in the least bit. And boy, has she made, oh my God, we could not have been more wrong. And when I say we, I can say the collective we. Everyone has the most wonderful things to say about the Swifties and Taylor Swift, and what a positive, beautiful impact that their energy. Yes, the additional revenue that came through to those of us who are service industry people of whatever capacity, but just the positivity and the joy and the light that was the movement of the Swifties, my God. And yeah, so it's been some interesting stuff, some stuff we didn't expect that was actually really wonderful. So a little tiny aside too, man, Taylor, he finally made me a believer in just the movement and the beauty of your message that you clearly send to so many people, and just having the ability to interact with some wonderful young women and young girls here over the past week, because you were here for 3 nights. So thank you. You have definitely spun your magic and cast a spell during Halloween season on grumpy tour guides and tarot readers and service industry people. But that was an aside. Now back to our regular schedule programming. It's as per usual with me later on in the evening, and again, it's been super busy couple of days, including today. We're preparing for the huge voodoo ceremony and voodoo festival that we have at the shop down in the quarter where I work. But today is something that's very special to me personally, and a little bit of a challenge of a day. And somebody just said, I don't know, just sit in front of the camera, start talking, pull some cards, see where it takes you. Excuse me. Today is my mother's birthday. And my mom's been gone for several years now, but anyone who's lost someone, you know how death is proof that time doesn't really exist, because it can feel like, oh, it was many years ago. It can feel like, oh, that was last week. And today is her birthday, and it's always a challenge because of everything I just said about how Halloween is the machine that it is down here, and the constant things that I am having to do for work, essentially. And though I love my work, and I love my job as a tarot reader, it's my life. But other things that kind of are offshoots from that are wonderful, but I would love to have been able to spend the day in quiet reflection. And especially as we are now in, tomorrow it is Samhain. And some people see Samhain as just the day, and I've heard some YouTubers refer to it as it's Samhain 24 hours, that's it. My understanding, and in my practice, it's a season. So we have finished Mabon season, if you're a witch who follows the Wheel of the Year. So Mabon season, this is it. This is the end of it tonight on the 30th, and October 31st will be Samhain, the day, as well as the beginning of Samhain season, which will last for the next 6 weeks until Yule. And it's so interesting because my mother's birthday being October 30th, and it's funny, I'm a Christmas baby. I was born on December 25th. She is a Samhain baby and absolutely hated it. And I would have loved to have been a Halloween baby. It's right up my street, like right up my alley. I'm on the fringe, the outskirts, I should say the outskirts. I am, I guess, a part of the goth community. It's not my. It's a definite aspect of a sincere part of my personality that I love, and I'm so happy to have as a multifaceted person. But my mother, anything. I think it's why I only wear black now, because she hated black and don't wear black clothes. And I couldn't wear black until I was a teenager, like basically out of her house, essentially. And it's interesting because as this Scorpio, who in so many ways was such a true Scorpio, there were so many things that she did not feel in any way comfortable with / feared, maybe even, very fair to say, terrified by, that have to do with this time of year. We've just entered into Scorpio season. This year it happened on, I believe, the 23rd it fluctuates. It's usually like the 21st, but some years it moves. This year I'm pretty sure it was the 23rd that officially began Scorpio season. And that time of going into the underworld, aka the land of the dead, that liminal space of betwixt and between, of unknown, and all of the things that Samhain season and all of the other festivals that happen in different cultures with regard to honoring the dead, acknowledging death in and of itself, let alone honoring our beloved dead. So if it's Dia de los Muertos, if it's those of us who are in the voodoo traditions, where in voodoo we have Fed Ghede, honoring the Ghede, who are essentially the dead, and the spirits who are the keepers of different aspects of death and the cemetery and the processes that come under that transition, all of those things. All Saints Day, November 1st in Catholicism, All Souls Day in Catholicism. Saints being the spirits, the individuals who were human beings, lived, but the Catholic Church raised them up to being saints. People that we can petition in death to be emissaries or intermediaries between us and the divine. All Souls Day, human beings who were not raised to that level in the Catholic Church, but who are beloved dead. So this is this time And exactly. And everything that is all things Scorpio. Going into the underworld, the unknown, the depth, the intensity, things regarding intensity, obsession, the depth of emotion, passion. And if you know any Scorpios, you can see where those words make sense. Come sit on the chair. There you go. Meow. The most vocal cat I have ever met in my life. So I just finished watching a wonderful, and I'll leave a link in the description box below, class that the amazing Megan Angus teaches, usually annually for the past several years, where she is, if you don't know her, check her out. She has a wonderful podcast, Spinning the Wheel podcast. He's tenacious. Sit in your chair, sweet pea. Sit in your chair, Peanut. I'll leave in the description box. She has a wonderful podcast. She is a witch, author, reader, astrologer, all things and stuff, and phenomenal human being. And I just finished watching her annual class presentation on Samhain. So if you really want to dive deeper into understanding from the Wheel of the Year perspective as a witch, working with and the different aspects of Samhain throughout the season, it is a deep dive. It is a wonderful class. It is long. It is 2 hours. As she says, get snacks, get a drink, get a journal, get comfortable. You can be there for a while. And everything is just a gem that comes out of that woman's mouth. Everything that is well thought out and amazing. So I just finished watching her class, and now I'm also about to do a preparatory video for another class that no point leaving it in the description box because it's already been closed for a couple of weeks at this point, that Racine is offering. And I'm really looking forward to doing that tomorrow. But all these things as a witch, as a voodoo practitioner, I am so drawn to. It's not what I do, it's who I am. And it's interesting, this Christmas baby child was born to a woman who was a Halloween baby, essentially, and feared all of those things. And my mother was the most maternal, like the mommest mom to ever mom. And being honest, in upright ways and some helicoptery, Scorpio, intense, controlling ways. And it's only through time and maturity that you're able to see things, I think, from a different perspective of being someone's daughter, being someone's child, daughter, son, whatever, being someone's child. And to step out of that as much as you possibly can and try to imagine what it was like to be a parent, especially when you're not one. But not just to be a parent, to be that particular person now in the role of parent. And one of my dearest friends, Suzette, you know this is you, one of my oldest and dearest friends who helped me to really start to see things from a different perspective, my mother's perspective, knowing and loving both of us dearly, and knowing both of us for many years. And yes, your mom is a Scorpio and all the batshit crazy that comes with Scorpios. Facts. But in my 30s, she helped me to step back and kind of look and see from that perspective of standing in my mother's shoes and her life before she was this person's mom. And I think on her birthday, it's just making me kind of call to mind things and these things that I'm reflecting on. And my hope that is with this video, this will reach someone who is going through a transitional time, of this liminal space. Again, calendar, time of year. But maybe in your life you are going through, and if you're a cardinal sign, Godspeed. We know Pluto making its last hurrah throughout Capricorn. But whatever your sign, whatever your experience, that this will perhaps have some aspect to this video that will be meaningful and give you some things to perhaps consider or to think about and reflect on, that will be able to aid you in whatever time of change and transition, or any of those things that are represented by Scorpio and Scorpio season. And so, of course, it's called to mind, as a tarot reader, cards. And some cards I've already kind of pulled out from a couple of decks, and then I'm going to just pull one card from a couple of different decks for the collective. And the first deck is the DarkWood deck. I've been working with this deck. I chose to start working with this, I've had this deck for a couple of years. I love it, but specifically it started waking up and calling just before Mabon. And I just made the executive decision that, though I probably was going to work with it throughout this season, it would be one of the deck that I would use for my daily draw. And I've been working with Crossroad Spirits even more. And so I intentionally drew sorry guys, I'm still trying to figure out what the heck with this ring light, especially with cards that are kind of glossy. But the Empress card from the DarkWood, and there is our beautiful Empress who is heavy laden with child, leaning against the tree as her throne as the Empress. And when I think about my own, because my mother wanted nothing more than to be what she was. Well, many things, but my mom, that's all she was. Whoa, son. Yeah, everything's just revolving around me. She was my mom, but she was many things. And she was also the creatrix of many things because she was a phenomenal fiber artist. So whether she was weaving the threads of life to make a human or to make a beautiful tapestry that might have been shown in a museum, her creativity and her deep love of creation and nurturing something, again, a person, an amazing meal, yarn on a spinning wheel, but the creation process. And it's so interesting that this person who, Queen of Cups, was extremely intuitive, extremely nurturing, but all of that Scorpio intensity of water, the Queen of Cups represents she's the element of water expressed through the element of water. So that not able to always have the exterior supportive vessel to hold on to and encapsulate water, her emotions. She was incredibly, and still is incredibly intuitive. She is one of the primary spirits that walks with me. Of course, she's my mom. Hello. And you too, Daddy. And this gives me so many of the messages that are so impactful for my clients. This just really kind of, and blue was her favorite color. Sorry guys, again, struggling with the ring light. And the other card from the DarkWood that I've intentionally drawn is the Death card, which is so interesting as, again, this Scorpio, life and death, and how this was a person who was terrified of death, terrified of the concept or anything that represented death or was associated with death. And so I'm really trying to, with intention, really do embrace shadow work now. If any time of year, boy, this is it. And especially as a Capricorn on the cusp of this change that's about to happen, praise God, of Pluto, who is the underworld, and just kind of reflecting and thinking about how can I face my own fears, because death is no respecter of persons. It's not, death doesn't have favorites. Death doesn't give anybody a break. It is the great equalizer of life. But how can any of us who are going through a time of transition and change that may be very fearful for us, be patient and kind and give grace to the innocent part of us that may be having a hard time accepting what we've always known heretofore, that's been our protectress or our safe space or our touchstone, that change is happening and that's inevitable. And I feel, I mean, obviously this looks very much like Santa Muerte, but seeing it in a different way in this moment than I have with this card of the three aspects of Santa Muerte. Holy death. And how can we bring in, because, you know, we have this Taurus and Scorpio, they're opposing signs on the wheel. So there's struggle because they're in opposition of one another, literally life and death. How can we create environments, or within or without, that allows us to feel safe and grounded while we are experiencing grief or times of change? And whether that's a parent, a job, the idea of who we're supposed to be, but going down into the underworld. Because on the other side of death is life. It's the yin and yang and the back and forth of those. And I love how on the Horror Tarot, both of these drawn by Abigail Larson, and I will not go down my rant about the Horror Tarot. I want to love it. God, I want to love it so much. This is one card from the deck that I absolutely do love, in how death is graciously kissing the maiden's hand, the living and the dead, and how there's this coexistence that is shown in this card, but also how she is death taking her hand, kiss of death, or is she choosing and willingly saying, extending her hand? So there's this, for me, this let me just put my hands in it. Let me be active and grab hold of this, because it's going to grab a hold of me. So having the ability to go down into and say, yes, the scary things that need to be accepted and looked at, such as today on my mom's birthday, how can I find the acceptance and move through the grieving process? That's a process forever. So I'm going to draw a couple of cards right quick, because I see we are at 24 minutes. If you watch my videos, you know my videos are not usually short. So this brings me to Memento Mori. Literally translates, remember, we will die. And the card Goodchild deck. So let's draw one card for the collective from that deck. Oh, this one seems to want to come out. And one card from Stacy Williams-Ung's Roses, Dust, and Ashes, which is an awesome deck with Victorian cemetery symbols. Look at the backs. Look at these. Oh, aren't they just lush? So, for the collective. Oh, okay. We have that one. And one last one from the October Oracle from Kiki. Oh, I miss you, Kiki. She's still in physical. She just went off grid completely. For the collective. This card is a stalker at this point for me. Like, this is crazy. So from our Memento Mori, we have the broom. And I love this broom with the handle that is a femur or a humerus or something, an arm. But brooms are used for so many things, and those of us who are witches, witch flight, which is a whole different thing, it could be a representation to traveling to the astral realms in order to communicate with your loved ones. Cleaning house, as well as literally maybe physically cleaning our house. Cleaning house. Tidying up, using that broom to sweep away, to cleanse spiritually, energetically, what needs to be removed, so that it can clear out and remove any stagnant energy or any stale energy or things that are just collecting and holding on to dirt, physical or emotional and energetic, spiritual dirt. So perhaps working with a broom, go to a craft store, go to Michael's. There are so many wonderful creators on Etsy who make beautiful, beautiful brooms on Instagram for practicing witch. Well, not doesn't have to be a practicing witch, but handcrafted. But using that broom and charging it with the ability to sweep out the old and fresh, clean energy. Using the broom to waft with incenses, if you have a small enough broom, a little whisk broom, so that we can bring in fresh, clean, renewed energy in our space, metaphorically and literally. And then readiness with the urn, number 27. And this is, to me, how can we prepare? What things can we do to prepare, because death is coming? Maybe literally check your life insurance policy. Also, change is inevitable. I'm gonna look at the guidebook right quick to see what Stace says. An urn draped with a cloth is an antique cemetery symbol you don't see much anymore. They were sort of a nod to cremation remains, although in those days cremation was not a very popular choice. Instead, it was meant to symbolize that we all return to dust and ashes, hence the name of this deck. The cloth laid gently across the top probably symbolized the veil between the world of the living and the dead. By cultivating a mindset of readiness, you can reduce stress and anxiety and approach challenges with a sense of calm and purpose. Readiness means curious and adaptable, always willing to learn and grow. So how can we prepare for any changes that we already see are headed our way? And take peace in what things might be beyond our control to affect change, and to know that we have done everything we can to prepare. Also, readiness and preparedness for our loved ones, for anyone, if you do anything to celebrate for Samhain or this time of year of honoring the dead, preparing something, getting something ready for them on the other side of the veil, like food or drink, or preparing their favorite meal, any of those kinds of things. And then with the October Oracle, Spirit is the card. And I swear to you, this card, the past 3 times that I've shuffled this deck, I've pulled this card, Spirit. Their spirits are with us, even though they're no longer in the flesh. Matter can never be created nor destroyed, so their energy is always with us. So just knowing and being able to build that connection by using the broom, cleaning things out, preparing a space for our loved ones, and giving it regular spiritual cleansing and attention. Readiness, preparing that space for them after a space has been cleansed, perhaps, then preparing it with altar cloths or certain cards or imagery or pictures or food, or, you know, if Uncle Charles liked, you know, sweet potato pie, give Uncle Charles a piece of sweet potato pie. If, you know, Cousin Frank smoked Lucky Strikes, give him Lucky Strikes, whatever. But preparing a place for them and asking them to assist their energy to prepare us for the time of change. Preparing us as we're going into this dark half of the natural wheel of the year, where death will be all around us. Death of the daylight, death of the sunlight, death of the leaves on the trees. So just kind of paying attention in those ways, but they can help us to prepare, and that will invite their spirit in to be able to be welcomed and perceived and assist us with those changes that are happening perhaps in our own lives. So I hope that this reaches someone who needed it, and I hope that it reaches them in their heart and in their spirit of maybe just, I don't know, the card pulls being what you needed to hear, giving you some information on things you can actually do to honor anyone who is deceased, or a time of transition and change within your own life that may not be a mortal death of someone. And knowing that on the other side of that death card is the Empress. Death is inevitable, but from that death, how can we prepare for the rebirth of whatever new things that will be taking place on the wheel of the year in springtime, but giving ourselves the grace and the patience, but also doing the dirty, ugly, hard, funky work of looking at the scary things, looking at things in the shadows, looking at our own personal skeletons in our own closet of fear, stagnation, chaos, just to name a few. But I hope that this gives somebody the ability to maybe feel understood, heard, and maybe some actionable steps to help you through the time of transition and change. And I hope whatever you're doing for Halloween, I hope that this helps, and I hope you also balance that death out with life, the party, the fun, the trick-or-treating, the candy, the costumes, and the merrymaking. So, blessed be, happy Samhain, blessed Samhain. I will catch you in the next video.